Some key takeaways from India US statement: a new 10-year framework for India US India major defense partnership in the 21st century to be signed. US platforms rising in Indian services. US would expand defense sales and co-production with India to strengthen interoperability and defense industrial cooperation. Javelin and Striker to be pursued. Review of international traffic in arms regulation (ITAR) in order to streamline defense trade, technology exchange and maintenance, spare supplies and in-country repair and overhaul of US-provided systems, opening negotiations this year for a reciprocal defense production procurement pact, accelerate defense technology cooperation across space, air defense, missile, maritime and undersea technologies, US announcing a review of its policy on releasing fifth generation fighters and undersea systems to India, the Autonomous Systems Industry Alliance Asia, scale industry partnerships and production in Indo-Pacific. Asia refers to India-US cooperation in the area of underwater domain awareness technology. US-India Compact catalyzing opportunities for military partnership, accelerated commerce and technology for the 21st century to drive transformative change, catalyzing opportunities for military partnership across pillars of cooperation in defense investment and trade, energy security, technology and innovation, multilateral cooperation and people to people connection. Trade and investment, new goal for bilateral trade, Mission 500, aiming to more than double bilateral trade by $500 billion by 2030. First tranche of the mutually beneficial multi-sectoral sector bilateral trade agreement to fall by fall of 2025. Bilateral trade agreement, first tranche of mutually beneficial multi-sector bilateral trade agreement, first branch of mutually beneficial multi-sector bilateral trade agreement, recommitted to the US-India Energy Security Partnership, including in oil, gas, and civil nuclear energy. US support for India to join the International Energy Agency as a full member, fully realize the US-India demonstrate mutual commitment to address bilateral trade barriers, recognition of Indian investments in US, Indian companies ongoing investments worth over 7.355 billion, 3,000 high-quality jobs for local families, 123 civil nuclear agreement by moving forward with plans to work together to build US-designed nuclear reactors in India through large-scale localization and possible technology transfer, enable collaboration to develop, deploy, and scale up nuclear power generation with small power modular reactors. Tech and innovation. Launch of US India Trust Initiative will catalyze government to government, academia and private sector collaboration to promote application of critical and emerging technologies in areas like defense, artificial intelligence, semiconductors, quantum, biotechnology, energy and space. Forward a US-India roadmap on accelerating AI infrastructure by end of year. US and India will work together to enable industry partnerships and investments in next generation data centers, cooperation and development and access to compute and processors of AI for AI. Launch of Indus Innovation, an innovation bridge modeled after the successful IndusX platform that will advance industry and academic partnerships and foster investments in space, energy, and other emerging tech. Pharma, expand in Indian manufacturing capacity, including in US, for active pharmaceutical ingredients for critical medicines. Launch of the Strategic Mineral Recovery Initiative, a new US India cooperative program to recover and process critical minerals. India and US to work together on key areas as Biden era initiative renamed ICET now Trust, expected to promote critical emerging technologies. Mr. Prime Minister, you are great. Taking forward the Biden administration's initiative on critical and emerging technologies, India and US decided to rename it and launch the US India Trust Initiative, which is expected to catalyze government to government, academia and private sector collaboration to promote application of critical and emerging technologies in areas like defense, artificial intelligence and space. The ICET was launched during the Biden administration and led by the Nuclear Security Advisor. The ICET was launched during the Biden administration and was led by the National Security Advisors. The then US NSA Jake Sullivan and NSA Ajit Doval led the talks on critical and emerging technologies. This was widely expected to continue because of the challenges from China. Under the rubric of technology and innovation, the joint statement said the leaders announced the launch of US India Trust Transforming Relationship Utilizing Strategic Technology. Transforming the relationship utilizing strategic technology initiative, which will catalyze government to government, academia, and private sector collaboration to promote the application of critical and emerging technologies in areas like defense, artificial intelligence, semiconductors, quantum, and biotechnology and energy. This alludes to China's technology giants that India has been wary of by banning TikTok and shutting out Huawei from Indian telecommunication ecosystem in recent years. As a central pillar of the trust initiative, the joint statement said the leaders committed to work with US and Indian private industry to put forward a US India roadmap on accelerating AI infrastructure, US India framework on accelerating AI. As a trust central pillar of the trust initiative, the joint statement, the leaders committed to work with the US and Indian private industry to put forward a US India roadmap on accelerating AI infrastructure by the end of the year, identifying constraints to financing, building, powering, and connecting large scale US origin AI infrastructure in India with milestones and future actions. The US and India will work together to enable industry partnerships and investments in next generation data centers, cooperation on development and access to compute and processors for AI, for innovations in AI models and building AI applications for solving societal challenges while addressing the protections and controls necessary to protect these technologies and reducing regulatory barriers. It also said that the leaders announced the launch of Indus Innovation, an innovation bridge modeled after the successful IndusX platform that will advance US India industry and academic partnerships and foster investments in space, energy, and other emerging technologies to maintain US and India leadership in innovation and to meet the needs of the 21st century. The leaders also reinforced their commitment to the Indus X initiative, which facilitates partnership between US and Indian defense sectors. Partnerships between US and Indian defense companies, investors, and universities to produce critical capability for our militaries. They also committed as part of trust to build trusted and resilient supply chains, including for semiconductors, critical minerals, advanced materials, and pharmaceuticals. Recognizing the strategic importance of critical minerals for emerging technologies and advanced manufacturing, India and US will accelerate collaboration in research and development and promote investment across the entire critical mineral value chain, as well as through the Mineral Security Partnership, which both US and India are members. Both countries have committed to intensifying efforts to deepen cooperation in exploration, beneficiation, and processing, as well as recycling technologies of critical minerals. The two sides have signed a pact on the new partnership between the US National Science Foundation and the Indian Anusandhan National Research Foundation in researching critical and emerging technologies. This partnership builds on the ongoing collaboration between US National Science Foundation and several Indian science agencies to enable joint research in areas of semiconductors, connected vehicles, machine learning, next generation telecommunications, intelligent transportation systems, and future biomanufacturing. As part of this effort, they plan to encourage public and private investments to expand Indian manufacturing capacity, including in the US, for active pharmaceutical ingredients for critical medicines. These investments will create good jobs, diversify supply chains, and reduce the risk of life saving drug shortages in both the US and India, the statement said, alluding to the Chinese supply chain disruption during the COVID pandemic. They also launched a strategic mineral recovery initiative, a new US India cooperative program to recover and process critical minerals, including lithium, cobalt, rare earths from heavy industries like aluminium, coal mining, oil, and gas. Modi and Trump to activate new Quad initiatives. The two leaders launched Indian Ocean Strategic Venture, a bilateral forum. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump will activate new initiatives under the Quad grouping, plan to convene partners from the India Middle East Europe corridor and the I2U2 group within the next 6 months in order to announce new initiatives in 2025 and launched a new bilateral Indian Ocean strategic venture. They are also expected to announce new partnership initiatives across Western Indian Ocean, Middle East, and Indo-Pacific. This comes at a time when President Trump has been talking about walking off multilateral groupings and initiatives. Sources said this means that Trump is strategic in his approach in which initiatives to invest in. He has walked out of Paris Climate Agreement, the WHO, and has threatened NATO countries to share the burden. Under the rubric of multilateral cooperation, the joint statement said Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump will activate new initiatives under the Quad grouping plan to convene partners from the India Middle East Europe corridor and I2U2 group convene partners from the India Middle East Europe corridor and I2U2 group within the next 6 months in order to announce new initiatives in 25 and launch a new bilateral Indian Ocean strategic venture. They are also expected to announce new partnership initiatives across the Western Indian region. Under the rubric of multilateral cooperation, the joint statement said the Prime Minister Modi looks forward to hosting President Trump in New Delhi for the Quad Leaders Summit, ahead of which leaders will activate new Quad initiatives on shared airlift capacity to support civilian response to natural disasters and maritime patrols to improve interoperability, stating that the leaders resolved to increase cooperation, enhance diplomatic consultations, and increase tangible collaboration with partners in the Middle East. It said that they highlighted the importance of investing in critical infrastructure and economic corridors to advancing peace and security in the region, and they plan to convene partners from the India Middle East Europe corridor and the I2U2 group within next 6 months in order to announce new initiatives in 2025. The joint statement also talked about launch of Indian Ocean Strategic Venture, a new bilateral whole of government forum. The US appreciates India's role as a developmental, humanitarian assistance, and net security provider in the Indian Ocean region. In this context, the leaders committed to deepen bilateral dialogue and cooperation across the vast Indian Ocean region and launched the Indian Ocean Strategic Venture, a new bilateral whole of government forum to advance coordinated investments in economic connectivity and commence supporting great Greater Indian Ocean connectivity. The leaders also welcomed Meta's announcement of a multi-billion multi-year investment in an undersea cable project that will begin work this year and ultimately stretch over 50,000 kilometers to connect five continents and strengthen global digital highways in the Indian Ocean region and beyond. India intends to invest in maintenance and repair and financing of undersea cables in the Indian Ocean, stating that the leaders resolved to increase cooperation and enhance diplomatic consultations and increase tangible collaboration with partners in the Middle East. It said they highlighted the importance of investing in critical infrastructure and economic corridors to advancing peace and security in the region, and they plan to convene partners from the India Middle East Europe corridor and the I2U2 group within the next 6 months in order to announce new initiatives in 2025. The joint statement also talked about launch of India Ocean Strategic Venture, India Ocean Strategic Venture, a new bilateral whole of government forum, Ocean Strategic Venture. The US appreciates India's role as a developmental, humanitarian assistance and a new security provider in the region. In this context, the leaders committed to deepen bilateral dialogue and cooperation across the Indian Ocean region. Trump denies US deep state role in Bangla crisis, leave it to PM Modi. US President Donald Trump rejected any role of the deep state of the US in the affairs of Bangladesh, an issue which was discussed during the bilateral meeting where Narendra Modi conveyed his concerns regarding developments in the neighboring country. Responding to questions on the role of US deep state in the affairs of Bangladesh, Trump said at the beginning of their bilateral meeting in Oval Office, well, there was no role for our deep state. This is something that the Prime Minister has been working on for a long time and has been working on it for hundreds of years. Frankly, I have been reading about it, but I will leave Bangladesh to the Prime Minister. Later, while replying to the questions, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said, on what we make of the statement on Bangladesh, this was the subject that was discussed between the two leaders, and the Prime Minister shared his views and indeed his concerns with regard to recent developments in Bangladesh and how India sees the situation. I think we hope that the situation in Bangladesh will also move forward in a direction where we can pursue relations in a constructive and stable way with them. But there are concerns about that situation, and the Prime Minister shared those views with President Trump. Tension has been simmering between the two countries since the collapse of Sheikh Hasina government last year, and there have been diplomatic protests over the border fencing issue in the recent months. The Bangladesh interim government, led by Mohammad Yunus, has sought the extradition of Hasina, to which India hasn't yet responded. The India Trust Initiative, as a central pillar of the Trust Initiative, joint statement said the leaders committed to work with the US and Indian private industry to put forward a US India roadmap on accelerating AI infrastructure. US India roadmap on investing AI infrastructure. US India roadmap on in, accelerating AI infrastructure. Rana's extradition approved, says Trump, going back to face justice. after the US Supreme Court cleared the way for the 2026 terror attack accused the Havur Rana in January. With the Prime Minister Narendra Modi by his side, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi by his side, today I am pleased to announce that my administration has approved the extradition of one of the plotters of very evil people of the world and having to do with horrific Mumbai terrorist attack to face justice in India. So he is going back to India to face justice. Trump also announced that India and US will work together like never before to confront the threat of radical Islamic terror across the world. Rana, a Canadian national of Pakistani origin, is currently lodged at the detention center in Los Angeles. He is known to be associated with Pakistani American terrorist David Coleman Headley, one of the main conspirators of the 26/11 attacks. He is going back to India to face justice. Trump said we are giving him back to India immediately, and more such extraditations could follow as we have quite a few requests. Responding to this, Modi said, I'm thankful to the president that he has decided to hand over the culprit who commit killings in India in 2008. Missing in statement climate mitigation, renewable energy. Climate mitigation, renewable energy, and clean energy supply chains were summarily missing from the Indo US joint statement. Instead, the focus was firmly back on fossil fuels as US President announced an agreement that will see US supplying more oil and gas soon after Trump announced that India has agreed to purchase oil and gas. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz posted about the news. Drill baby drill is equal to buy baby buy. Without directly referring to India's announcements on amending the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act, Trump said it would be a groundbreaking development for the US nuclear industry, reforming its laws to welcome US nuclear technology, which is at the highest level in the Indian market. This will bring safe, clean, and affordable electricity to millions of Indians and tens of billions of dollars to the US civilian nuclear industry and India. This marks a clear departure from the clean energy transition initiatives that found place in a joint fact sheet of September 21, 2024, following Modi and Biden's bilateral meeting in Delaware. While the two administrations started the Strategic Energy Partnership in 2018 during Trump's first term, this was transformed into a Strategic Clean Energy Partnership in 21 by Biden and Modi. This marks a clear departure from the clean energy transition initiatives that found place in the joint fact sheet in September 24 between Biden and Modi. While two administrations started the Strategic Energy Partnership in 2018, during the Trump's first term, this was transformed into a Strategic Clean Energy Partnership by Biden. Last month, world's second largest greenhouse gas emitter also withdrew from the 2015 Paris Agreement, a second time under Trump. Oil production contributed to 33% of fossil fuel based carbon dioxide emissions, and gas production accounted for 22%. And a hike in oil and gas production by the US will have significant impacts on the global efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. PM Modi Also said the two countries will strengthen the oil and gas trade to ensure India's energy security, and cooperation will be increased. In the nuclear energy sector, specifically in the direction of small modular reactors. During their joint press conference, Trump also lamented that according to him, India did not have a very good relationship with the Biden administration and the latter did not sell them oil and gas. There are five technical pillars of SCEP: power and energy, efficiency, renewable energy, responsible oil and gas, sustainable growth, and emerging fuels and technologies. Baghel made Punjab General Secretary as Congress carries out a big revamp. Panel for picking next CC to, to meet on February 17. Selection panel comprising of Modi, Shah and Rahul to meet at PM House. Modi, Shah and Rahul. The selection committee to pick the next chief election commissioner is likely to meet on February 17. This the meeting comprising of Narendra Modi, Amit Shah and leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi is scheduled to take place on PM's residence. Selection of CEC through the committee will be a first as Kumar's retirement creates the first CEC vacancy since the Chief Election Commissioner an Appointment Condition and Service of Terms Act was passed. As per the Act, CEC and ECs have to be selected by the selection committee either from a panel of five names drawn up to search and committee by a search committee chaired by the law minister or any other person or of the panel. Uh, Even now, the selection committee can select the election commissioner Gyanesh Kumar, who is next in seniority after Rajiv Kumar, but the process mandated in the Act will have to be followed. The Act, however, gives the selection committee the option of going outside the two existing ECs for appointing the CEC. As per the Act, search committee and of the law minister and two secretaries to the government have to prepare a panel of five persons for consideration of the selection committee. The Act says CEC and ECs will be appointed from amongst the persons who are holding or have held an post equivalent to the rank of Secretary to the Government of India and shall be persons of integrity who have knowledge of and experience in management and conduct of elections. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court is scheduled to hear a petition challenging the validity of the Act on February 19. How can CGI take part in executive appointments? VP. Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar on Friday wondered how can Chief Justice can participate in the selection of CBI director or any other executive appointment. Addressing the gathering of National Judicial Academy Bhopal, he said, the line between judicial activism and overreach is thin, but the impact on democracy is thick. I say the line is thin, but this thin line is between democracy and despotism. To stir your minds, how can in a country like ours, or in any democracy by statutory prescription, Chief Justice of India can participate in the selection of CBI director? Can there be any legal rationale for it? I can appreciate that the statutory prescription took shape because the executive of the day has yielded to a judicial verdict, but the time has come to revisit. This surely does not merge with democracy. He said that his observation is that executive governance by judiciary is being frequently noticed and discussed nearly in all quarters. For the constitutional democracy to survive, institutions must learn to differ without disrupting and dissent without destroying. Democracy thrives not on institutional isolation but in coordinated autonomy. Dhankar said, accountability is enforceable when executive roles are performed by an elected government. Governments are accountable to the legislature and periodically accountable to the electorate. If executive governance is outsourced, enforceability of accountability will not be there. Gaurav Gogoi to take legal action over Assam CM's Park Links claim. Talks between centre and farmers inconclusive. Next round on February 22. VP in Bengal House. State may go for special session. In Sea of Kum visitors, police have a tall order identify women's body unclaimed since stampede. Mahakum devotee count crosses 50 crore, says UP government. Goa, man convicted in 2017 rape murder of Irish backpacker. A sessions court in Goa convicted Vikas Bhagat for rape and murder, a British Irish national who was found dead. PM Shah lead tribute. Airstrikes in Pakistan were befitting reply. Pulwama attack anniversary. In competitive world, human values must be intact. Most Pakistani smuggling drones came from Lahore BSF labs. Last edition of Global Climate Risk Index makes a strong case for building climate resilience across national borders. Last month, the World Economic Forum's Global Risk Report ranked extreme weather events as second most difficult security threat after armed conflicts and war. Now, one of the world's longest running climate impact indexes has quantified the toll taken by the crisis in the past 3 decades. More than 9,400 extreme weather events were recorded between 1993 and 22. Notes the latest edition of Global Climate Risk Index. This survey, conducted regularly by the international German think tank German Watch, estimates economic losses due to extreme weather events amounted to more than $4 trillion inflation adjusted. There are clear indications that the world is entering an unpredictable phase of climate change. The delayed onset of La Nina and its inability to cool global temperatures is the latest example of this phenomena. Last month was the warmest January globally, with the world recording an average surface temperature of 13 degrees Celsius. Deepfakes in the UK university system might be warning of what has come into in digital interaction. The anti-defection bill passed by the two houses of parliament a fortnight ago need not be sent to state legislature for ratification, law ministry sources clarified. However, it will take time for the bill to become law because after it receives the president's assent, the presiding officers of the two houses and state legislatures will have to make rules. Masters of the Sea. Donald Trump is abandoning Ukraine. Others would be both wrong and reckless to follow suit. Eighth Indian Ocean Conference, is an opportunity for India and region to secure maritime supremacy. India, with its Indian Ocean partners like Singapore and Oman, is hosting 8th Indian Ocean Conference in Muscat this weekend. Foreign ministers from around 30 countries in the region will be converging at the conference to discuss the future of the most happening region. India, with its Indian Ocean partners like in Singapore and Oman, is hosting the 8th Indian Ocean Conference in Muscat this weekend. Foreign ministers from around 30 countries will be converging at the conference to discuss the future of most happening region. Oman, the host like India, has been a major seafaring nation and has maintained linkages with India for over 5 millennia. Both countries are strategic partners and work closely in many areas of development. The 16th century Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan, after observing the calm waters of the Pacific, called it Mar Pacifico, meaning peaceful sea. The Atlantic and Arctic oceans got their names from Greek mythology. However, the Indian Ocean derived its name from the historical and civilizational influence that India wielded on the countries of the region. Hind Mahasagar and Indian Ocean have been familiar names, and voyagers and explorers of the great oceans for millennia. Discourse on the Indo-Pacific dominates the world today, but the Indo-Pacific is a geostrategic construct where big power competition is omnipresent. The Indian Ocean is largely peaceful, natural region connected by civilization and culture. Vast expanses of water and third largest ocean in the world, touches the shores of 26 countries. For many other landlocked countries like Nepal and Bhutan, the Indian Ocean remains lifeline. From the first millennium, merchants like Mani Gramam Chettis and Nana Desis and kings like the Andhras and Pallavas and Cholas used it to establish trade with the Arab lands in the west and ventured into the Philippines and other South China Sea territories in the east. Kautilya's Arthashastra talked about the functions of officers like port commissioners and harbour masters, highlighting the importance attached to maritime activity in ancient India. Fahin, a Chinese traveller, wrote in the 415 CE that the ship that took him from Ceylon to Srivijaya had 200 merchants who professed the Brahmanical religion. The Indian Ocean made India the leading economic power in the first millennia. Its economic decline coincided with its decline in maritime power. In the second millennium, European powers like the Portuguese, Dutch, French, and British developed stronger navies and converted the Indian Ocean region into a colony. The British were well-known seafarers, but they never bothered to build a strong blue water capability for their colony during their two-century rule. This lack of attention to the seas sadly continued after independence too, while the governments giving greater priority for land-based warfare, completely neglecting the oceans and their potential for the country. Consequently, in areas like shipbuilding and naval vessels, India remained laggard power in the last 7 decades. It ranks 20 in the global shipbuilding industry, holding meager 0.6% market 0.6% market share. Interestingly, the first to alert India about importance of Indian Ocean for its future was renowned diplomat K.M. Panikar, who served as India's ambassador of China and France. So far as India is concerned, it should be remembered that peninsular character of the country and essential dependence of its trade on maritime traffic gives the sea a preponderant influence on its destiny. He argued in his book India and the Indian Ocean. Sadly, though his warnings fell on deaf ears, Indian leaders engrossed in the continental mindset failed to fully appreciate the importance and potential of the Indian Ocean region. From the Persian Gulf to the Strait of Malacca, the Indian Ocean is a main trading artery for many countries in the world. Critical supply chain routes managing almost 70% of the world's container traffic passes through this region. More importantly, around 80% of India's external trade and 90% of energy trade passes through these ocean lines. It took several decades for the governments in India to realize the natural goods will that the country enjoys in the region, once described as a British lake, and start taking proactive steps to strengthen those bonds through events like the IOC. The global power axis has relocated to the Indian Ocean in this century. The US and UK with their Diego Garcia base and France with Reunion Island are already active in the region. China too joined them, investing heavily in spreading its influence. India under Prime Minister Modi nurtured the ambition of rising as an influential blue water power and the voice of the global south. To that end, Modi government proclaimed an ambitious Sagar initiative, security and growth for all, in the region in 2015. The Indian Ocean is a crowded space today with vessels of all major countries crisscrossing its waters over the surface as well as under the sea. Important next generation communication networks proliferate in the Indian Ocean through undersea cables managed traditionally by European companies but also of late erected by the Chinese communications behemoth Huawei. This region faces challenges like piracy, seaborne terrorism, climate challenges, human and contraband trafficking, illegal and unregulated fishing, arms running, poaching, and humanitarian challenges like rising seawater levels, evacuations, and disaster relief. Alfred T. Mahan, an influential geopolitical theorist, confident of the President Theodore Roosevelt, wrote more than a century ago, whoever attains maritime supremacy in the Indian Ocean would be a prominent player on the international scene. Mahan's comment is an important reminder to all assembled leaders of the region at the IOC, and the supremacy of the region must remain in their hands, and they should be the masters of managing the affairs of the region at peace. Love in the time of climate change, let us go then, and you and I, where the evening is spread against the sky to a place of low AQI. The mask our children need, we need to equip them with the ability to walk around the trash. Sex, violence, disturbing scenes, language, graphic sequences, parental advisory. Today, every episode on a streaming platform comes with labels like these on top left corner of the screen. This after an elaborate disclaimer that effectively and Farshikali washes its hands of everything you are about to watch. If you find anything offensive or demeaning, nothing is intended, it's all in your head. All this is under the rubric of freedom of speech. Then comes Ranveer Alhabadia and his band of brothers. The same person has interviewed leading politicians across all parties as well as celebrities. Clearly, everyone wants to be on his show for the size of his audience. So he, in an attempt to be funny, makes comment on children, parents, and sex, perhaps thinking that will sustain the millions who follow him or add a couple of million more. In a discourse where everything is divisive, the reaction is on predictable lines. Those who support him saying he is pushing the boundaries. If you don't like it, switch it off, go to the next YouTube channel. There are many who say, what else did you expect? Then there are many who say, these men have wrecked the foundations of a family's morality. Lost in all is one key fact, our ability to navigate our way through mounds of garbage in our cities. We know how to do it despite significant gains made by the Swachh Bharat. In every city, every small town, there is an unclaimed garbage on the side of the road. There are plastic bags, poly bags, every tourist destination. We hold our noses, walk past it, drive around it, look the other way, get out as fast as possible. Can we do the same with the garbage on our information highway, on the trash that pops up on our Instagram feeds? It is politically incorrect to call content trash, but the fact is, Elhabadia's alleged joke was neither funny, at least not with this writer, nor to this nor provocative. Several comedians with much stronger and sharper humor have paid a cost with either FIRs or bans or cancellations. What is clear is that the team at India's Got Talent believes that you need to be more crass since that's what works. The contempt for their audience is clear. They also know that a joke told a second time isn't funny. So the only way to get those views coming in is by falling on the oldest troops in their business. Perhaps they see a model in many of a new American stand-up comedians with their own shows on Netflix or Amazon who talk about orgasm, sexuality, their own sexual experiences, and even their anatomies with a remarkable ease and bring the houses down. When almost nothing shocks anymore, what do we need to make people squirm in their seats, laugh nervously? That's what people pay for. The Oscar season is upon us, but remember how 3 years ago Will Smith, the distinguished actor, walked onto the stage and slapped comedian Chris Rock because apparently he didn't like how he talked about his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. There were the usual noises made about behavior in public and celebrity tantrums, but it faded away into the next shocking reel. Mahatma Gandhi's three monkeys need to be recalled today. During COVID and when pollution levels are high, we used masks to keep the virus and particulate matter out. Our smartphones are protected end to end by an antivirus software. What are the masks that we need for our children as they navigate the trash littered information highway? One of the greatest theorists of communication, Elio Katz, underlined the key paradox of mass media. Should it lead or follow, mirror or mold society? Communication, he argued, has been employed both as an instrument of social change and a reinforcing force to maintain the status quo. Undoubtedly, the information highway has limitless opportunities and possibilities that will help our children realize their full potential, grapple with contradictions and truths. How to equip them with masks and ability to hold their noses, walk around the trash is what we need to work on. We have to tell them that, as Javed Akhtar says, the use of abuse, he likens this to a chili in the food to shock source that you have to run out of imaginative powers to use language. One answer lies in getting them young, right from kindergarten, at school, and at home. We need to help our children switch off the phones. We need to equip them with tools to navigate the information highway, knowing very well while it runs past meadows and lakes and rivers and beautiful city squares, it also forks into crudity and hate. Children must witness their parents' conduct and choices as well. Our children carry testimonies of ethical memories from us from the way we live and the way we talk. The level of importance we give to trust, care, responsibility, and respect in a society where brand is everything. Can we brand respect, ethics as a key element of our profile? These issues need hard conversations between parents and children, between parents and teachers, children and teachers. We need to ensure that the next generation of audience knows how to dismiss the next crudity. This refers to the article in US Reach Out Can Reshape Global Order. US President Donald Trump's posturing about rooting out illegal immigrants and hiking tariffs is making worldwide ripples. His ostensible commitment to negotiating with Russia and Ukraine to end the ongoing war promises a reshaping of the world order. His amiable equation with Prime Minister Narendra Modi bodes well for India with Modi's meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron ending on a cordial note, there is a propitious global environment for India to cultivate relations with its two powers. This refers to report President's rule in Manipur Assembly under the suspended animation center. the, the opposition clamored for the dismissal of the Manipur government under N. Biren Singh, but the centre remained adamant. Narendra Modi's visit to US was preceded by Singh's resignation, and the promulgation of President rule coincided with his stay in the US. How things unfold in the days to come will reveal whether the government is sincere. The decision to impose President rule should have been taken in 23. This refers to the article heat of the moment. Climate change and global warming can cause unimaginable damage to our country. It must be first priority for policymakers. India is fast turning into a consumer economy. SUVs and ACs are selling like never before. While developed countries are fast running manufacturing, developing countries are ready to grab bigger pieces of the pie. That's where the real problem is. There is an urgent need for judicious thinking in this regard. This refers to the editorial in the light. Corruption and misgovernance in WAF institutions is evident today, and this was flagged earlier by the Joint Parliamentary Committee held by K. Rahman Khan. Politics aside, reform is due. WAF Amendment Bill should include measures focused on checking corruption, inefficient management of educational institutions and orphanages according to the modern requirements, and lack of oversight of Awqaf. The government should keep in mind the rights of Muslims to manage their properties as enshrined in the constitution while dealing such amendments. President's rule in Manipur, Kokomi flays blatant power maneuver, Kukizo outfit says long overdue. With Manipur coming under the president's rule for the 11th time, responses to it across the states divide are varied from a meaty group calling it undemocratic imposition to a Kukizo outfit welcoming it as a necessary and long overdue. President rule was imposed in Manipur on Thursday, 21 months after the beginning of the ethnic violence in the state and 4 days after the N. Biren Singh resigned as chief minister. Security has now been stepped up in the state. Before the official president rule order, a security plan was prepared and the state police and intelligence agencies were monitoring movements of certain individuals to pay any untoward incident. The Valley-based Meeti Group Coordinating Committee and Manipur Integrity said the move to impose president rule points to a sinister agenda to place Manipur, particularly the Meeti community, under direct military control. It sought a time-bound process to elect a new popular government. On the other hand, Kuki in P. Manipur, the apex body of Kuki tribes in Manipur, welcomed president rule but reiterated its demand for a separate administration. The Kuki Inpi Manipur acknowledges the imposition of the president's rule in Manipur as a necessary intervention, albeit long overdue. The collapse of law and order under the Manipur state government, led by former Chief Minister N. Biren Singh, resulted in the irreparable suffering of the Kuki-Zo people. While we appreciate this step, we firmly reiterate that neither the resignation of N. Biren Singh nor the invocation of the president rule alters our resolute demand for the separate administration under Article 239A of the Indian Constitution. After Biren Singh's resignation, Kukizo groups have been in favor of president rule rather than another Manipur BJP leader succeeding him as chief minister, saying another chief minister would not be an acceptable alternative. The invocation of president rule, while a step to forward, does not resolve the deep-rooted crisis. True justice can only be achieved through a full recognition of the cookies of people's rights and privileges as citizens of India. By granting a separate administration that ensures our security, dignity, and rightful governance. Sources in the government establishment have suggested that period of the president rule could be used to launch extensive operations to flush out weaponry that is widespread in both the hills and the valley. Kokomi questioned the Union government's true intentions. The sudden and unreasonable imposition of president's rule in Manipur by the government of India, despite the BJP having an absolute majority in the state, is seen as deliberate ploy to push Manipur further into turmoil. This move raises serious questions about the central government's true intentions as it shifts the blame to alleged incompetence of its own BJP MLAs. This blatant power maneuver indicates a sinister agenda to place Manipur, particularly the Meitei community, under direct military control. Kukumi demands an immediate and time-bound process to elect new leader and restore a popular government at the earliest. Failure to do so will make every BJP MLA and leader in Manipur directly accountable to the people for their political irresponsibility and betrayal. The people of Manipur must remain vigilant and united against any attempt to subjugate them under military rule. Supreme Court slams Tamil Nadu over delay in plea against Isha Foundation. Protesters of 74 Sambal violence suspect put up at Jama Masjid. Police on Friday put up posters of 74 suspects in the Sambal violence case on the wall of Shahi Jama Masjid besides other places after posters of one of the accused was allegedly removed by unidentified people. 55 people were killed and nearly 50 injured in the violence that broke out in November 24. Speaking to the media person, some additional ASP Satish Chandra said the posters contain photographs of suspects carrying stones in their hands. The suspects captured through CCTV footage from drone cameras, closed CCTV, and video made by mobile phones directly involved in the violence. Their identity is yet to be confirmed, so posters have been put up to seek public assistance in identifying them. The district police have directed the personnel posted at the new police outpost that was recently set up in the opposite. Former Goa CM Digambar Kaman, discharged in mining scam case, may approach us Uttarakhand High Court to people facing UCC action. Gone in 2 minutes, man walks into bank, locks up staff, escapes with 15 lakhs. Obscenity row, Supreme Court to hear plea by Allahabadia against FIRs in 2 to 3 days. Out on parole to attend house, MP Rashid met Gadkari, his party says. Karnataka gets proposals worth over 10 lakh crore at investors meet. In Kolkata state-run SSKM hospital, push to cut. In Kolkata state-run SSKM hospital, push to cut backlog of gallstones, 200 surgeries in 4 days. In the end game, is the endgame inside Red Citadel under siege. A string of reverses in the form of arrest, surrender, and encounters has led the Maoist party at its weakest yet as the state makes inroads into Naxal bastions and the center sets a deadline of March 26 to wipe out Maoist, speaks to intelligence officials, surrendered cadres, and security forces on the fight ahead. We will see an end to Naxalism in a few months. The Government of India and Chhattisgarh government have a clear intention of bringing this 7-decade-long Naxal violence to an end much sooner. The local population of Bastar is frustrated by the mindless violence of Naxals who are responsible for the death of more than 2,000 civilians in the region. All these years, Maoists have used the security and administration vacuum to their advantage and misguided the local population. A comprehensive strategy was conceived to reach out to the people and make them aware of the design of Maoist. As a result of these initiatives, the bond between population and government agencies is strong. In fact, our operational bases act as integrated development centers, bringing amenities to the villagers. Protecting the lives and properties of the local population is one of our primary priorities. Unfortunately, there were a few civilian casualties. The government has ensured all possible assistance to victims of those incidents of Naxal violence, there were many instances of security personnel saving the lives of civilians injured in IED blast or Naxal crossfire. Note of caution: what bilateral trade deal with US could mean for India. Top imports: mineral fuels, oils, precious, semi-precious stones, nuclear reactors, boilers, electrical machinery, aircraft and parts. Top exports: engineering goods, electronics goods, and gems and jewelry. And drugs and pharmaceuticals and petroleum products. How reciprocal tariffs work? This is because, but this would mean Indian rupee will weaken further against the US dollar. This is because more dollar will be demanded as more American products are imported. More dollars will be demanded as more American products are imported. Academic Losmonov floating power plant in Russia, and HTRPM in China, with focus on AI chips, India, US, to deepen tech-based collaboration, industry partnerships, investment in next-generation data centers. India and United States will prepare a roadmap to accelerate artificial intelligence infrastructure by the end of the year, with an eye on enabling investments in data centers and increasing access to computing power for AI, the two countries announced in a joint statement. Prime Minister Modi and President Donald Trump announced the launch of US India Trust, transforming the relationship utilizing strategic technology initiative to enhance government to government, academia, and private sector collaboration to promote application of critical and emerging technologies in areas such as defense, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, energy, and space. US and India will work together to enable industrial partnerships and investments in next generation data centers, cooperation and development, and access to compute and processors for AI. The development comes as India has initiated the process to procure close to 19,000 GPUs, offering it at subsidized cost to startups and researchers. An investment of $500 billion is expected to be made in a new company's Target project to fuel this expansion over the next 4 years. It also comes amidst the meteoric rise of DeepSeek, a low-cost foundational model from China, which has shaken the AI industry. So far, OpenAI, Microsoft, and Google were setting AI narrative. They had access to the most cutting-edge hardware made by another American company, Nvidia, and also access to the best AI talent in the world. But that changed earlier this year. A Chinese AI lab released DeepSeek, an open-source model. Not only was DeepSeek competing with OpenAI's latest models on several parameters, it was trained at a cost of around 6 million. This was a fraction of what OpenAI took to train its models. Trust Initiative could ramp up supply chains for critical minerals. Pharma, creating robust supply chain for pharmaceuticals could focus on APIs, many which depend on critical minerals like lithium, magnesium, zinc, and selenium. RBI supersedes New India Cooperative Banks Board. WPI inflation eases to 2.31% in January. Wholesale price inflation, WPI inflation, 2.31% from 2.37%. SEBI proposes disclosure rules for invites REITs. 20 NBFCs give up registration certificate. RBI. The good, bad, and the ugly. Shawa. What lies in store for India Champions Trophy? Saudi Arabia welcomes idea of US and Russian presidents will meeting in kingdom. Zelensky to Vance, Ukraine wants security guarantees. Hexet tells Europe to spend on defense as US presence may not last forever. European countries need to invest now in defense because it is not possible to assume that the United States' presence on the continent will last forever, US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said on Friday during a visit to Warsaw, pointing to Poland, which plans to spend 4.7% of GDP on defense this year. As a model ally, Hegseth doubled down on Washington's demand that Europeans, NATO allies, make on more financial burden for their own security. What happens 5 or 10 years or 15 years from now is a part of larger discussion that reflects the threat level, America's posture or needs around the globe, but most significantly, the capability of European countries to step up, and that's why our message is so stark that to our European allies. Now is the time to invest because you can't make an assumption that America's presence will last forever. Echoing remarks made during NATO defense ministers meeting in Brussels, in which warned Europe against treating Washington like a sucker ultimately responsible for European defense. He said Washington was facing many threats, including from China. Hegseth has kindled an outcry in Europe after announcing on Wednesday that returns to Ukraine pre 14 borders was unrealistic. Once take swipe at Europe on free speech democracy, Germany hits back. US President JD Vance on Friday US Vice President JD Vance took swipe at European governments for what he described as censorship of free speech and political opponents, speaking at European political leaders, military officers, diplomats at Munich Security Conference. Vance surprised the audience by dismissing the risk of Russian political interference in Europe, taking similar stance to US President Donald Trump, who had rallied against claims by US intelligence agencies that Russia had interfered on his behalf for his behalf. Vance adopted a confrontational tone, accusing European politicians of what he said was a fear of their own people and warned them that the real threat against their democracy was not from Russia and China. The threat I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. What I worry about is a threat from within the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values shared with the United States of America. Musk's tactics frustrate some senior White House officials. Gaza militant groups named three hostages to be released. Rwanda-backed rebels claim to have seized airport in East Congo. Handshake, fingers crossed, defense sales to Thawer extradition among announcement. Modi-Trump agree to seal early trade deal after US calls India's tariff unfair. As Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Donald Trump met in White House, Delhi and Washington sent clear signals Thursday on the resolve to address the issue of tariffs and get down to business quickly, starting talks for a trade pact. The US also asked India to buy more oil and gas, promised to increase military sales this year on forward, and eventually provide F-35 stealth fighters. It also said it had approved the extradition to India to Mumbai terror attack accused Tahawur Rana. The discretion for an early trade agreement means that negotiators have 7 to 8 months when Trump is expected in India for a summit of the Quad leaders. Japan and Australia are the two other countries in the grouping. This is the first firm deadline for a bilateral deal. The deal was being negotiated in Trump's first term but could not materialize. The Trump said he was thrilled to welcome my friend Modi back to the White House. There is truly a special bond between the United States and India, the world's oldest democracy and the world's largest democracy. In doubling bilateral trade to $500 billion, Delhi will have to pick up threats from Trump 1. US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday announced plans to sign a bilateral trade agreement by the end of the year and double bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030. Bilateral trade agreement by the end of this year and double total bilateral trade by of to $500 billion by 2030. Why gas rather than oil could be route to raising India's energy imports from the US. India imported 5.2 million tons LNG from US, 20% of our LNG imports. So LNG is 5.12 million and crude oil is 7.17. So India imports highest from Russia, 37%, and then Iraq, and then UAE, Saudi Arabia, and then UAE. Russia, Iraq, and Saudi. Russia, Iraq, Saudi, UAE, and US. Trump for reciprocal global tariff asks team to ready plan. New 10-year partnership framework to F-35s to Javelin missiles. Major boost to defense ties. Compact US-India Compact catalyzing US-India Compact catalyzing opportunities for military partnerships, accelerated commerce and technology for the 21st century. Under this initiative, they committed to a results-driven agenda with initial outcomes this year to demonstrate the level of trust for a mutually beneficial partnership. Challenge this time, narrow the gap, need to get things done fast. Asked about Adani, PM Modi says, leaders don't discuss individual issues. Second set of 119 deportees from US to land in Amritsar today. Canada's biggest gold heist suspect living on Chandigarh outskirts. Proposal to merge Ayushman Bharat health state schemes. Draft note prepared to be sent to cabinet. A week after Delhi's victory, the State Health Department began the initial process to launch Ayushman Bharat, the flagship health insurance scheme. In the national capital, officials said the department has drafted a preparatory note outlining the basic blueprint of the scheme's potential launch to the city, which will be forwarded to the cabinet once it is formed. The health insurance scheme has been implemented in all states except West Bengal and Delhi. The note includes approving implementation of the Ayushman Bharat Jan Arogya Yojana with a 10 lakh cover per family, merging Delhi Arogya Kosh and Delhi with Ayushman Bharat, establishing a task force to oversee their implementation. Mohalla clinics will be renamed as Ayushman Arogya Mandirs, Sirsa. Ayushman Arogya Mandirs. Power struggle in BJP or ministerial post, claims AAP Congress. According to an official, the scheme will be integrated with Delhi's existing healthcare infrastructure, including government hospitals and mohalla clinics. Over 1,500 medical procedures, including critical care, surgeries, and diagnostics, will also be covered. So that's all for today. See you in the next one. The robot uprising is coming. Don't worry, they'll get tired of our inefficiency and give up eventually.